Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the Thriving Business Podcast. I'm very honoured to have a special guest with us today, Kim Lancer from Tall Poppies Leadership. Hi, Kim.
Hi, Kate. Great to be here.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. Unfortunately, my co-host Sam can't be here today, as I was mentioning before. She is home in Victoria without power. So
Ah,
very disappointed to not be able to join in the conversation because she came up with a lot of the questions that we're going to be discussing today, some of the things we're curious about in leadership. Um, but you are the founder of a global leadership development company called Tall Poppies Leadership. And I love your tagline, which is Stand Tall, about cultural initiatives, leadership, team journeys, executive coaching, and you do keynote speaking as well. And you do a lot of work across UK, USA, and Australia. And if you don't mind, Kim, it'd be great to just hear a bit about your backstory and how you got into this work and your journey and how you've managed to straddle three continents all at once. So, yeah, over to you.
thank you. I grew up here in Perth and studied communications and then sort of set off around the world. I moved to London early days after I had a year in Holland. So that kind of opened up my mind to what I could do globally. I lived there for a
Mm.
year as an exchange student. And
Where
when
were
I
you,
was
where were you in Holland? Sorry to interrupt.
I was in Delfzijl. It's a tiny town
No doubt.
right next to the border of Germany, like as stereotypical as you can think, with
Yeah.
the cows, with the windmills. That was my first introduction to total discomfort, fish out of water. You're living with a Dutch family and you have to learn a new language and a new
Mhm.
space. So
Mhm.
I definitely think that played a part in what I wanted to do later on. But, you don't know what you want to do yet. It's not like I
Yes.
woke up with this.
Yeah.
So probably early days in London, I was working in an investment bank, and I
Mhm.
remember going to a London Business School event and talking about the bank, which I loved. I loved the culture, I loved the leadership at Credit Suisse. And when I talked about it, I thought, oh, I actually really want to not just bring people into the bank, but I want to develop and grow them. So
Mhm.
that planted an early seed, not just to do, the marketing piece of it, but to develop. And then if you fast forward, I had this beautiful career at the bank, really developing people. That was about 6 years. Then I had 11 years transferred over to New York.
Mhm.
That's where I really started finding themes in leadership
Right.
and did it within a bank, also within an amazing global trading company, and started to really sense that actually people are not tapping into their own confidence in the way they could to just be
Mhm.
happy and successful in their own terms. So that was sort of 20 years away from Australia. And
Mhm.
this desire was burning as to, well, I want to do it. I want to do leadership development in a way that I think really works now because I've
Yeah.
seen it in different continents. And by then I was completely homesick, wanted to be
Yeah.
back with my family, and came back 7 years ago with this desire to set up the business and thought, I'm going to flip the script on tall poppy syndrome. Um,
Mm. And
yeah, so
and that was this with the same investment bank while you were in the UK and New York, is that right?
yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
right.
So
And
I was going to say that probably explains why I think about leadership in a very holistic, personal way, but also being very savvy and commercial in a business way.
mhm.
It needs to work ingrained because that's been, my experience.
Yeah, yeah. And was tall poppy syndrome a thing in the UK and USA, or is it something you noticed when you got back to Australia?
No, not at all. That's actually part of why I called the
Yeah.
company that because, I lived in Holland. That's not a cultural impact, not in the UK and not in the US. In fact, confidence has varied levels.
Yeah.
So I just thought, well, how ridiculous that we have this force that I remember experiencing growing up where you can't celebrate your wins until you've actually
Mm.
won. And you sort of have to be humble and you're not really encouraged. I don't remember, I was an 800-meter runner and to stand tall. It's
Mhm.
very much about humility, which is a beautiful thing, as
Mhm.
well as, let's celebrate and share things
Mm.
that we're really happy about.
Yeah.
And yeah.
But you're saying in Holland, UK, USA, you didn't experience that needing to stay small. Is that right?
No, they don't have tall poppy syndrome there.
Yeah.
It's predominantly Australia and New Zealand. So they
Yeah.
have different cultural influences that affect you in terms of how confident you can be. And then we have our own, don't we, Kate? We've got our own self-doubt going on. My constant critic, Kevin, my friend. So there's these two parallels in
Yeah.
our world that I found are just stifling, like what's getting in the way of achieving what we want. It's
Mm.
mainly ourselves.
Yeah.
And I think that's ridiculous. So if we could normalize that, and if we
Yeah.
knew here are some things that are getting in the way, then it
Mm.
would just feel lighter. You just
Mm.
get to follow your own pathway, do what you want.
Yeah.
It's actually a lot of strong, conformity and pressures to belong and compare, and
Yeah.
irregardless of where you live.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Mm.
Okay. And so yeah, tell us a bit about, because you're in partnership with your husband in business.
Mm.
When did you guys meet, and how did that business journey start together?
Well, our love story is ill-timed, as I find many love stories are. So
Yeah.
I'd actually decided that I was going to move home to Australia and set up the business. And I'd been away, like I said, close to 20 years then. And that's when I met Greg. And
Mm.
he didn't live in New York, where I was living at the time. He was in Philadelphia. And yeah, that was sort of the start of the love story. And at the time, I had to convince him to move from, one side of the country, one side of the world to the other side of the world.
Yeah. So
He was an
he's
executive
American.
coach.
Mm.
He's American. He's an executive coach. He actually introduced me to my coaching program and had an MBA, had been doing leadership development. So we're in similar fields.
Mm.
Actually met at a conference, a leadership
Right.
development conference at Universal Studios.
Oh, so
And
that makes sense. In a similar
yeah.
profession, and then had the professional stuff in common, and
Yeah.
obviously the personal connection started there. And
Exactly.
how has he found the move to Australia?
Wonderful. We have two boys. So the boys were 6 and 11 when I met, and we got married in Australia and then planned to move over 7 years ago now. So I
Yeah.
think they've all just fallen in love with it.
Yeah.
It's been really beautiful. And the plan was I'd start the business, and when it was growing enough, then obviously he would use his expertise as a coach and a leadership development expert too, and join. And then we sort of grew from there, and we've exponentially grown. And now we have different associates who come in and support our work in the US and in Australia.
Yeah, amazing. So tell us a bit more, because I know confidence is a theme of your, of the work that you do. Can you talk to us a bit about that, and how because I know that your coaching takes a different angle to a lot of so-called executive coaching. Can you tell us?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing about executive coaching is that you're really you're hearing secrets for people. You're hearing
Mm.
the true underworkings of what's happening. And that's a beautiful occupation to have. And you actually get to really support, inspire them, and encourage them to achieve their goals.
Yeah.
So when you do that for years and years and years, I really started to notice, it's not actually people tapping into their skill or learning a new skill.
Mm.
The default that we have, by the way, is when we have a bit of self-doubt, we'll often want to credentialize. So a lot of people, if they change careers, they think about going to get additional credentializing, or what else will make me feel confident, and it's often a skill.
Mm-hmm.
What I found was when I was coaching, when people were actually in key moments, like you're presenting to a board, you're doing a huge pitch for an M&A deal, you actually don't need to learn something new in that moment. You have it, especially
Mm-hmm.
senior high-performing people. So the key is to tap back into your confidence and what is your true capability in
Mm.
that moment. And that means you have to clear your headspace. You have to be very goal orientated. It's very business orientated, but you're actually coming back to your own confidence of, I can achieve this.
Mm.
And that allows you to follow the most sustainable path and the happiest path for yourselves. So that's what the igniting confidence piece was about. It was about holistically looking at leaders, not just in separate work contents,
Yeah.
because often when I'm coaching in leadership development programs, we're highly distracted, or we're impacted by emotional things in our lives.
Mm.
So let's create a space where you can talk about all of this, sift through it, and then you can actually become far more productive and higher performing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what are some of the techniques you help people bring in for those kind of situations? If you've got a high stakes situation and you're feeling nervous, is that how you work with someone? You give them tools and strategies, or is it more like personal growth journey with them. How do you help someone develop confidence in themselves in those situations?
Yeah, we've actually created, after doing this for so long, our own thought leadership on it, which is, confident leaders, you know yourself,
Mm-hmm.
you trust yourself, and you can be yourself. So
Mm-hmm.
fundamentally, that is about knowing yourself. That's how do I enhance my self-awareness?
Mm-hmm.
Trusting yourself. How do I actually navigate self-doubt? Because that's a barrier for everyone across the world,
Yep.
especially business owners who have to be incredibly motivated and resilient themselves, very lonely world.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally, how do I be myself? Essentially, which is how do I step into my own quirkiness,
Yeah.
set my own path.
Mm-hmm.
So they're the core concepts: know, trust, and be yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Underneath that, you really need to be intentional about where you are. So let's say you're about to do a board meeting. I had a leader recently, was going into a board meeting, and it felt different. It feels like a different scenario in that setting. So it's
Mm-hmm.
actually being reflective around, oh, this is the same skill and setting, just a different, more intimidating person.
Right.
So one of the strategies is actually reflecting on what is the landscape, analyzing how will I begin.
Mm-hmm.
Also, when you're high performing and running around as you and I are as
Mm-hmm.
business owners, it's very quick.
Mm.
So one of the strategies is coming back to cutting out the noise.
Mm-hmm.
Not enough people are looking at that. This is my specific goal. This is the impact with the audience. How will I do that? How do I come back to I'm capable of doing this?
Yeah. So it's more about being really intentional by the sounds of it. It's
Definitely.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if you take intentionality as a core, which is how you're going to ignite your confidence, we're not confident in everything.
Mm.
Also, just think about confidence, Kate, as a concept. You
Mm.
have to be uncomfortable to get there.
Yeah.
You have to actually go through a process. And of course, that's not what we want to do. Just like, same with confidence, same with self-doubt. A barrier to achieving results in business is that
Mm.
so many people think, well, I shouldn't have self-doubt anymore. Or
Mm.
other people don't have self-doubt. Look how polished they look.
Yeah.
So there is these themes that I've seen across, the highest, fastest industries,
Yeah.
and they're actually getting in the way of people performing. And what do you need to perform or to be happy? You need to believe in yourself.
Yeah.
You need to be confident about what you're doing,
Yeah.
not just striving to do it the way that somebody else does it or get
Mm.
additional, pieces.
Yeah. Yeah. Fascinating. Yeah, we used to always say for years we ran workshops for female founders, and we used to say to them get used to being uncomfortable. It's a state of you can't escape that feeling of being uncomfortable constantly if when you're stepping into new terrain, when you're growing, all of that stuff, isn't it? Yeah.
Exactly.
And understanding that that is just a normal, everyone feels that way. It's not unique. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so um do you find that men struggle with confidence as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody experiences the same self-doubt.
Mm.
We all have our Kevins because our brain has 70,000 thoughts for everybody, and
Mm.
80% of them are negative. So if you know that humans have this operating system that's always steering towards the left, I think of the
Mm.
left as, it's the supermarket trolley steering over here negatively,
Yeah.
then the key is actually just to be able to navigate it. I find that it shows up differently in
Yeah.
genders.
Okay.
So, for example, I find as a theme, although not obviously, there's not a absolute truth to all themes.
Mm-hmm.
So we're all unique and have exceptions. But as a theme, having done this 25 years, I find that females are more open to admitting that confidence is in the way, or they can name it.
Mm-hmm.
I have some self-doubt happening for myself. What am I going to do? And sometimes it takes a little bit longer for male leaders to disclose that. And I think that's, what I've noticed is that's because societal pressures about what's really acceptable.
Yeah.
Essentially, the same barriers are there.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of the work that we do. I don't want to do leadership development. That's, let me teach you negotiation 30 minutes and that's it. Everything we do is over the year.
Mm-hmm.
At least 6 months, where it makes a really big difference, and you're actually thinking and empowering yourself to be able to operate at a different level. It's all around, for yourself. And that means learning some key strategies around, well, how does your brain actually work? And once you know that, and you have accountability and you have these touch points, you have community, you can be on a completely different pathway.
Yeah.
And also, same for myself. I'm still going to have self-doubt all the time. I work very hard not to burn out, to keep my intentionality, to stay positive, just like everybody does. I've just read and learned so much more about it than I'm doing it in little baby steps all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's a key for business owners as well, isn't it? Because think about how many different directions we're pulled in all the time. So business owners, in my experience, and I'm a part of a group as well, so hardworking, very susceptible to burnout, constantly not giving themselves permission, having to push through. Yeah, not aware of where everything is because we're scattered and there's so many things. Like we are juggling as experts. But if you come back to like, I need to know myself, right? What's happening for me? Where's my decision coming from around avoiding feedback to a manager? If I know that I've just lost 2 deals, then I can come back to trusting myself because I know I have to manage my own self-doubt. It's not me. And same with being myself. Like here we are as business owners creating something in the world, determining new strategies, and we're often comparing. But you have to come back to, no, this is what we do as a business, which you would know so well in guiding them. This is the unique element, and that takes intentionality.
Yeah. No, there was a very funny TED talk many years ago by a Spanish guy saying, if only, what was it? If only we all had the 10% of the fraction of confidence of a white male or something like it was very gender stereotypical, but it was also based on what I loved about his talk was based on a lot of research. He was a research scientist, psychologist. And that's why I was curious, because I know what you're saying, that men do struggle with confidence potentially in a different way, but it appears there's this ingrained confidence in men that women, having worked, I worked with as an engineer with men, obviously for 15 years, then stepped into coaching only women for 5 years straight when we launched Fempire. And I really did notice a stark difference between working with men and working with women. I found that confidence really is a barrier for women. And like you say, they do talk about it openly, and it is actually a thing. Whereas men, in my experience, even if they do struggle with self-doubt, there is this sort of ingrained confidence that they can fall back on, that they can back themselves a bit more. Do you know what I'm curious to hear your experience in the leadership circles that
absolutely. I mean, there's all of the research, the studies on resumes, job applications, the studies telling us, oh, I need to have 80% of the competency and then I can apply for it. Women, I need to have 50% and then I can apply for it. Yeah. So, and that shows up in multiple different ways. Plus there's unconscious bias. So we have different associations with male and females, which are, supporting men being seen in a certain way versus females being seen in a certain way. So, and then finally, you have this sense of belonging. I went to a lunch last week. There was maybe 400 people. It was a business lunch. I've grown up in a highly male-centric industry. Investment banking, we have private equity clients, like very male dominated. And even still, I walked into the lunch, it was 80% men. And I had this instant feeling of not belonging. So that's just a human thing that we navigate. Now, if you've had that, depending on what you've had in varying degrees, is it harder to speak out in this? Could be. Have you had that before? So belonging is one of our core needs, just like growth is as a human. And therefore, if you're constantly in those rooms, in boardrooms, where you're not seeing yourself and your voice is seen or heard in a different way, that will absolutely play on your confidence. So that's the disproportionate piece.
Yeah, fascinating. And the term emotional intelligence is all it's spoken about a lot, right, in leadership circles or in conversations. And I love the research by Tasha Eurich when she found that 95% of all people think they're self-aware, but only 10 to 15% of people actually are self-aware. Which is fascinating because it means that around 85% of us are not seeing ourselves clearly or not how others perceive us or are blind spots. So how do you cultivate that quality in people? Because you mentioned self-awareness before, and you were
Mm.
talking about how do you help someone develop emotional intelligence or self-awareness?
You help them through asking questions.
Mm-hmm.
You help them through actually encouraging them to reflect. So a
Mm-hmm.
number of different things in a coaching session, just at the beginning, if you ask somebody, where are you out of 10 today?
Mm-hmm.
Instead of bouncing from meetings, it'll bring their awareness to, I'm actually really low on my energy. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to be able to sift through, like we don't make great decisions when we have low energy or we're just
Yeah.
exhausted. Yeah. The question piece, reflecting. One of the things we do in all of our programs is always thinking about what's the progress that's just happened. Because again, emotional intelligence, self-awareness, if we're in this state of feeling scattered, we
Mm-hmm.
tend to be more negative as humans,
Yeah.
then we're always noticing what we haven't done versus what we have.
Mm-hmm.
So a key part of emotional intelligence is to be actually kinder to yourself. And that can only start if you're aware of progress.
Mm-hmm.
So with different teams, we look at, what's the win for this week? Because that's reminding them that they
Yeah.
might have a project that's 6 months long, but they're actually achieving progress.
Mm-hmm.
Emotional intelligence, same with, when are you most productive, morning or afternoon? Who are the three people that you spend the most time with? Is that an energy giver or a taker awayer? So many questions can give us a sense of just what's happening in our own world.
Yeah.
Last week, I had a leader who was quite down on themselves, very senior, and I brought to his awareness that 4 of his 5 key relationships
Mm-hmm.
had gone through volatility in the last few months.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine how much energy he's spending taking care of these key relationships and then beating himself up about not achieving yet.
Yeah.
So that bringing up that sense of emotional intelligence gave him a sense of like less gravity,
Mm.
greater sense, again, back to confidence.
Yeah.
So it's being very analytical and scientific in a way, but using emotions and actually current state to do that.
Yeah.
So that then people can decide, oh, this is what I need.
Mm-hmm.
2 weeks ago, someone who was overwhelmed knew that watching their kids play sport this weekend would be absolutely energizing. So they set a boundary, did that. They sound like simple things, but they're actually really not in the world of business.
Yeah. Yeah, so I suppose there's two things, isn't there? Self-awareness, what you're talking about is how am I feeling in this moment? What are my energy levels? How's my mood? What's my how am I feeling personally? I see emotional intelligence as um, how we interact with other people and how we perceive other people's feelings, how our behaviors are. And I think things like 360 degree
Of course.
feedback and all of that sort of thing, where I find a lot of people, the majority of us are quite often unaware of the impact we have on others through behaviors that we, so that kind of emotional intelligence in terms of how your behaviors show up in the workplace and
Mhm.
feedback from peers and that sort of thing. Is that something you develop with
Yeah.
or is it more, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Daniel Goldman's, the guru of emotional intelligence, which my
Yeah.
coaching certification was all about initially, the 4 parts, the self-awareness,
Yeah.
self-management, social management,
Yeah.
um, and social awareness. So it has to start from self, though, because how
Yeah.
can you be aware of your impact if you don't, for instance, think of yourself as having superpowers or you're not confident? Or
Right.
how can you make really good decisions and not be aware of how they'll impact others if you don't know what your values are and the fact that your value is really high on accuracy, so you want to get something right,
Yeah.
and somebody else wants to be creative.
Yeah. So it is
So
about
the
helping people know their strengths and right. That's part of that self-awareness piece that you do is helping people get to know what their strengths are relative to other people. So they're really
yes,
quite confident in who they are, the value they bring. So what you're saying is you bring it all back to self, acknowledging your own strengths, and that's what you're saying. Starts with you, and then once you're very confident and grounded in your own um, skills, values, all that sort of thing, then you can um, sort of then it's looking at how you interact with other people. Is that what you're saying? Yeah.
yeah, I would say the know yourself part of being a confident leader is, we call them superpowers. So if
Mm.
humans are always looking at negative and they always have a Kevin and inner critic, it's actually foundational to go, here are my superpowers.
Yeah.
Here's the things that I really value, and here's what I'm motivated by. So they're three guiding lights. Once you have that, of course, it's about the impact you have in the world. Like, how will you lead confidently
Yeah.
with, with empathy? Like you said, we all have a shadow self.
Mm.
We all have blind spots. We have different
Yeah.
impacts. So 360 is all of those tools that really shows up in the work we do to create high-performing teams.
Right. Okay.
So
Good.
our framework over the year has
Mhm.
these two elements. One is, how does the group interact together?
Yeah.
But ultimately, if you're not aware of yourself in the team,
Yeah.
then you're not going to be as effective. So then you heighten the intentionality through having team days and through also having coaching, because then people are really actually, they're hearing feedback. So we did that a few weeks ago, like, how could I be more effective in this particular team?
Mm-hmm.
When you hear that from other people and you trust them,
Yeah.
you start leaning into that.
Yeah. And is there a particular tool that you like to use for that team engagement, self-awareness piece? Or is that?
And all of our programs are wedded in our own thought leadership, which of course, from being in leadership development forever, like all of the experts in the world are infused in what you're doing.
Yeah.
The way that we create it for a team is by focusing on, how does the team know themselves? So all of their strengths within the team, very intentionally. How do they actually navigate the fact that, no team is high performing by themselves?
Yeah.
Everyone's like quite self-driven and competing. So if you're going to create a really high-performing team, then you need to talk about trust, and you need to navigate the self-doubt. Same with how teams are making decisions, or which email you respond to, who do you feel more loyal to? And then finally, being yourself, which is of course about diverse teams, and how do we have such difference in the team and still steer forward.
Yeah, so appreciating and valuing and understanding each other's strengths and how everyone's different to each other, but how you can get along and complement each other as a team. Is that, yeah.
Yeah. I also think about what gets in the way of teams, as themes. It's passive conflict.
Yeah.
That's a huge one. We're swimming in our own lane, but we're not really feeling comfortable enough. So what are the things that we avoid in business, especially for business owners? Feedback. We avoid conflict, anything that's difficult. Yeah, exactly. So these skills come out in the sessions we do with teams, especially for business owners, because business owners are often like really creative, entrepreneurial. And of course, as you know, we're not always taught the suite of how to lead.
The soft
And
skills.
so, yeah. And so if you are actually feeling more confident about, this is what we need to do to drive a great business, you can be empathic and have a firm conversation around, these are the behaviors we need. This is how we're going to operate as a team.
Yeah.
So those pieces, again, it comes back to confidence with this suite of tools that they already have. So we ingrain that in our team days. Same with accountability. I was talking to a private equity client, like, how will we drive accountability? It just means we need to be a bit more comfortable. It needs to be about trust and our own confidence, where we can say, this is what we said we would do. Now let's look at how we're going to do it. And same across industries.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. And so when you talk about creating that trust environment, which is critical for a good team culture, right? You've got to have that, as you said, that trust there. I'm sure you've come across teams where the trust is fractured because there are these passive conflicts or there's stuff, dynamics going on. How do you navigate those?
Yeah, two things. I always like to do an assessment first, see how honest people will be about the trust in the team.
Right.
So you assess it. 1, 2, we'll do pre-interviews where you'll start to hear real themes. So I don't set up, I don't advocate that all teams are high performing, because why would we be like naturally looking out for each other if we've never intentionally worked on that? Like, everyone is naturally thinking about themselves. If it seems obvious or the values aligned, we might start to focus more on the we. It's the me and the we. So normalizing that, we assess it, we do interviews, and then our style is quite carefrontational. So when you can sense that in a team day, you will know from the level of vulnerability and the way people are responding to each other, what trust is looking like. So we'll bring that up in what's in fact, a month ago, there was a conversation that there was a bit of emotion in the group, in the team dynamic, and it got swept over straight away. And so I said to the group, what just happened there? Just to get a sense of would
Yeah.
somebody address it?
Has
That's
someone
talking
got
about their trust and vulnerability.
who's going to
And
be brave enough to say something?
exactly. Yeah. And you're encouraging that sense of courage, trust, and connection so
Mm.
that they can achieve results.
Yes.
It has a clear goal in mind, and it happens over time.
And so
And
did someone come out and say something at that?
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. One person said, "Oh, we're discussing this," and the other person said, "But we're having a conversation underneath, and it's really about this." And we're uncomfortable with it. And that was a breakthrough moment. And it's actually why we have very specific activities within our team framework so that
Right.
we can break things down and just make it easier for someone not to CC and
Mm.
blame and shame and do all of these things, but to be really high performing. And
Yeah.
again, it's with a sense of normalcy. So it's our team. We have a 3-person team in Perth, and
Yeah.
then people around the world. We meet every 2 months for the whole day, just to
Mm-hmm.
intentionally work on what's your value, what's important to your life. Like, let's look at how we might miscommunicate and misinterpret, and
Mm.
just being able to keep having this constant intentional
Dialogue.
focus on the team allows us not just to have a great culture, but to be really high performing so that when we're
Yeah.
stressed and we have extreme deadlines, we
Yeah.
already know, oh, you're going to get triggered and you're going to do this, but we're in it together. It's more
Mm.
me, it's more we, not me.
Yeah.
And that's when teams break apart as well, don't they? Through global teams, which we have a lot of as well. So we're keeping that cohesion so they can just sort of nudge each other or pick up the phone instead of blow out things.
Mm.
And that's effectively, what are you doing there? The outcome is you're saving time.
Yeah.
And time equals results and financial benefit, and
Yeah.
business is growing.
Yeah. And the fact that so few people, well, according to the research, 85% of people don't have what they say is self-awareness. So basically all of us have some level of blindness, right? And um, I'm probably like you, a bit of a personal growth junkie. I've always been into looking at, I've got a whole shelf of books on shadow work and all this
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
But I find some people are really resistant to going there.
yes.
And I'd love to hear your thoughts. Is it about helping that person feel safe and that there is trust? How do you get someone who's really resistant? So I'm thinking of, examples where there's clear
Mm-hmm.
negative behaviors at a leadership level in the workplace,
Mm-hmm.
whether could be micromanaging, or it's leaving certain people out of communications, or
Mm.
it's passive aggression, or those kind of negative behaviors that happen at a leadership level, which is really hard for the people below them to to have this, thing that you're trying to create, which is this positive work culture. And often those people who are really dogmatic like that, or
Mm-hmm.
it's hard to, I'd love to hear your experience on how do you help those people soften to the idea of looking at their blind spots, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I think I'm in 2 ways. Firstly, if coaching and development is about enhancing your performance,
Mm,
ultimately you must be open to it.
mm,
So we don't take clients where we're told this is someone we need to fix.
uh-huh.
If I have a conversation with someone, like, this will accelerate like who you are and grow you as a person,
Yeah,
expand.
yeah.
And that will, of course, involve some reflection and development and time. If you are resistant to that, then it's not going to work because it's not
Mm,
our work to do.
yeah.
What we're really good at is creating the guide, the pathway, the accountability. So
Mm,
fundamentally, that is part of our business. So if
mm,
you're a dysfunctional team, but you're being dragged over and then forced by somebody else, well, you'll just use all that energy to be resistant and then say
yeah,
it doesn't work.
yeah.
That's one. The second part is, of course, people are not always focused on their own development.
Mm,
There are varying levels of that. So what I'll do within teams, if there's varying levels, it is ask coaching questions in a circle. So,
mhm.
sometimes it will be passive aggressive comments in a group that could easily be left, in a team. It takes some courage to do that. I wouldn't have done that early in my career.
Okay.
And now I do, oh,
Okay.
did anyone notice something happened just there? Okay, yes. How was that interpreted? Was that the intention? That's a very kind way of you leader in the group may not be intentionally doing something negative, or you may not be aware of the impact, but it has an impact.
Yeah.
So I feel quite drawn to at least share that and have other people talk about the impact.
Yeah.
And then we have choices. Same within coaching. Of course, we experience, people who may not be open to that. And then I will get curious about it because I'm not trying to prove myself or ourselves. This is a way to grow if you're open to it. But I can definitely ask questions.
Yeah.
And then I'm quite confrontational about this is what I noticed in team development. What's the impact on your team? What's happening? And that often can spark, if people feel safe and if I'm doing it not to point it out at your detriment, but to show you something that you may not know.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's non-threatening and safe and
Yeah.
non-judgmental.
Yeah. And the third part I always think is incredibly important is if the leader of the team is watching that behavior go by, then as much as we are going to do as the coach, it's not the same. So I will heavily encourage a leader. This is what I've noticed. I really suggest you have a trio conversation, a one-on-one, a feedback. Let me give you all the tools to support you doing that.
Yeah.
So we're at that extent where I'm like, this is the value that we provide in working with you, seeing all the pieces and here's, again, your choice. And then we're going to respect your choice around ultimately the goal. You're trying to get a high-performing team. If there's anything in the way, then our role is to highlight something and then see how we can best get there. But it's your work.
Yeah. Fascinating. That what you were saying is, I guess, early in your career, you wouldn't have necessarily had the confidence to call out those things and so what you would just let it slide and then have conversations individually, is that? And
I think that's true for everybody early in their career. Like we have to earn our stripes and our experience, and we get more confident with our voice in the room. And, also authority plays out. Like, that's the senior leader. So I think about training, you can be an order taker. And I've learned from greats who've taught me that, you will get asked to do this in a leadership development business, like do this in an hour. And there's two different ways. There's yes, absolutely, because you said an hour, or there's actually the best outcome is if you do it in this time or in this way. So I feel like because I've probably been taught by people who fundamentally believe in this and then done instructional design and gone to NYU and worked with all these people as I went, I feel compelled to be like, this is the better way to consult and do it.
Yeah.
You don't start out with that brimmed confidence. You have to experience it, go through discomfort, especially when there's power. I actually remember doing that early on, Kate, and being incredibly passionate. Like, we can't do this online. It was at the investment bank. It was to somebody who's 2 levels above me, very hierarchical there. And I fought and convinced them to do it in this different way. And I thought I was doing the right thing. But I actually ended up getting some quite strong feedback that I was too pushy. Again, back to your point around shadow and things we don't know, what I would see as passionate. So that was a great lesson. Same reason why I did a 360 last year. Same reason why I have a coach. We don't need to constantly be going up. I'm far softer on my own pressure. I'm a very driven, high-performing person, so it would be easy for me to constantly think, why haven't I done it yet? And what else could I do? But I've really learned that actually is quite a strong pressure for clients and for myself too. So far more accepting of these are all the parts. When I'm in optimum state, which is why re-energizing, which is why being intentional, which is why doing the work we love is important. This is how, I'll show up. And then, okay, I'm still human. So I think a bit of grace with that is really important because, again, as a theme, there's so much time spent on what we haven't done or pushing down that it's not resourceful and energizing to what we're trying to achieve.
Yeah, fascinating. And what would you say has been one of your most proud breakthroughs in corporate teams and leadership?
Oh, that's a big question. My proud breakthrough. I had one just last week that I thought I've been thinking, like, why was that so meaningful for me? Because it could sound small, but it was what it meant as a ricochet.
Yeah, ripple effect.
So I've been working with a client in New York in financial services for a decade now.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And first I'm really proud of that, and I get to
Mm.
fly back to the US and do this really meaningful work. So
Mm-hmm.
that, so the work's impactful, and of course there's an ego thing because I get to do it even though I'm on the other side of the world. And
Yep.
but I had this meeting with the global head last week, and very like wonderful and also intimidating, incredibly senior. And the thing that meant something to me is that I had so much knowledge over the 10 years, and that we had this beautiful, candid conversation. So I was very authentic. Here are the things that I have seen for a really long time, and I think they could work even more effectively.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't trying to appease him.
Mm.
And he's not looking at me as somebody just tell me these generic things. I thought very intentionally, if I was running a global business to the scale you are, and you've had somebody come in, what would I tell you really small and big as to how you could enhance this? So I
Mm.
felt incredibly proud of showing up as myself in that conversation, of prepping, of the fact, I think this is true for all business owners. It's never the one moment, it's the 10 years of work.
Mm.
It's all the things that you did to even get the opportunity to be speaking so candidly for an hour to tell somebody like that.
Yeah.
That was a little moment,
Yeah.
a little but big moment. And it reminds me in businesses, which is, I think, a lonely world. And, you need to be validating yourself and motivating, and we get constant rejection. And I'm in the good side of the world where I'm totally infusing people, that it's all baby steps, and
Mm.
it's all, following our light and igniting our own confidence. And the other one is a women's leadership program where there's alumni, like 50 alumni now that I've created a community over years and years and years, and they come back for coaching, and they've succeeded,
Mm.
like really elevated. I've really stayed in contact. And yeah, and probably what we're doing now. Look, I'm getting carried away with all the celebration now. But
That's
we're
good.
creating, a community of tall poppies. We
Yeah.
want to create 1 million people who are just getting all of our thought leadership, who wake up in the morning, see a 2-minute video, and then they have like a much better meeting. And they're
Mm.
just themselves and more confident in whatever they're doing
Mm-hmm.
across industries. Like that's something that I'm proud of making progress on. Still a long way to go, but I
Yep.
want everyone to actually have access versus just the organizations and the big
Mm.
business work
I
that
can
we do.
afford to invest in it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually that was part of creating something online, Kate, because you and I would love in person and we love over time. So
Mm.
it was a really big thing for me to let go of that and just think, what could I give you if you were 20 starting your career, or
Mm.
you're 30, and you could just do something for an hour and then feel more confident?
Yeah.
And most importantly, you would raise your awareness about yourself.
Yeah.
This is not the 10 best tips. This is the golden ingredients about yourself that will truly, truly serve you.
Mm.
So that was part of the Confident Leader online course. And
Right.
then, of course, if you're somebody who's invested in development, maybe you'll find us and do something. If you're not, that might be enough. And wonderful. Then we've got you to stand a bit taller anyway. We
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
you won't know about it.
And that course is available online on your website, is that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. And it's a bite-sized videos you're saying, like how does it look?
Yeah, so if you were doing it, it's an hour, it's online, and there's all these practical tips, but really there's so much reflection about knowing yourself. So you're going to know your motivators,
Right.
value, superpowers. You're going to trust yourself more because you'll understand how your brain works, and now you're going to make better decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And being yourself, you're going to step more, into your own quirkiness and how you prioritize.
Right.
So you come away with all these handouts that are actually giving you practical tools, and you feel more confident. And then from there, you have your own pathways as to what you can do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful. And what's some kind of fun experience you can tell us about, whether it's in the UK or the USA or Holland, something that something that was a fun something to end with on a funny note or interesting.
Um, Interesting. Holland just takes me back to, but then I was 18.
Mm-hmm.
The very first weekend going, just arrived. I didn't pick Holland to live in. I was just trying to be open-minded.
Yep.
and we went
Lived
to,
in Holland for 6 years, by the way, just so you
yeah,
know.
I know. I remember. Yeah, exactly.
So you're an exchange student, right? And you just said, I want to go to Europe. You left it open. Is that how that happened? Or
I had studied French, and so I
oh,
wanted to go to France, and then the age didn't work out. So then you got a choice, like, would you like to be open and go somewhere else? So I had to look up Holland.
and
That's
Holland's very
important.
different to France.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So you might have had this experience too. The very first funny weekend was that we went to a spa, we drove across the border, went to Germany, and then everyone got naked. You know,
Yep.
like my mum, my dad, yeah, that. So to me, that represents something funny, but also something that shifts your perspective
Yeah.
of like the world isn't one way. Look at all
Yes.
the beautiful ways it is.
Yeah.
And that's just showed up in when I had a daughter, how I met my husband, living in four countries, the assumptions that we make about people, just not true.
Mhm.
Like
Moving parts.
yeah.
Yeah. The nudity thing is fascinating, isn't it? Because Um, yeah, the fact that I have a stark memory of being in Germany, very similar culture to Holland, right? They're just very,
Yes.
very comfortable with nudity. They have
Yes.
unisex change rooms at gyms and things like that. Went from there to just being naked with and actually I had a girlfriend from Perth come over and her parents were British, so grew up very prudish, and she came
Yeah.
to see, we'd done a spinning class, went into the change rooms and she was like, oh my God, didn't want to get naked in front of all these people. And I was like,
Yeah.
just pretend it's normal, because you're standing out right now by freaking out, like just.
Yeah.
So we went
Yeah.
from there where everything's just so open over to them. For some reason, the next week we're in London, we went to a swimming pool there. And then the way you get your little key, you get your own little cubicle, you change, nobody sees you get undressed.
Yes.
You go into the swimming pool, and then you come out and you do the same. And just that total stark contrast between
Yeah.
cultures where it's fascinating, isn't
It
it?
is fascinating, different context. You just reminded me, I'm actually on my own leadership development, organizational development program now for myself.
Oh,
Like I'm
wow.
developing people. I'm on a beautiful one called iGold. It goes for a year and a half, 5 different modules, 28 people around the world. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to Budapest next month to be
Oh,
with them.
right.
And they are from all over the world. I've never been, as much as I think I'm open-minded, this is like blowing my mind as
Right.
to how to understand people. And yeah, the last time we were together, somebody talked about the concept of time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, we should be on time. And then there was this huge open conversation about, and everybody thought completely differently,
Mm-hmm.
just about something that we take for granted in a Western Australian world.
Mm.
So that is one of the fun things because I am finding out about my own expectations of the world and
Yeah.
how it's so much more beneficial to just be accepting and
Mm.
lighter and supportive about it, which is real work
Mm.
in itself. Yeah,
Yeah.
and confronting, you can imagine, like really confronting, really fun too.
Yeah. I think that letting go is a really important
Yes,
emotional intelligence tool that, or what's a philosophy, kind of an approach to life, isn't it? That
definitely.
the
Yeah,
older we
that's
get,
why Mel. Sorry, you go.
there you go. That's why Mel.
I was just thinking about Mel Robbins' book, like
Oh,
these simple concepts like letting go, giving yourself permission. They always sound simple, but that's why I think holistic coaching and coming back to confidence and yourself is so important because these are the things that get in our way as
mm,
business owners and leaders, like letting go of business expectations, even the definition of happiness,
mm,
like getting what you want,
mm.
comma, in the time you want it.
Yeah.
So just think about how that relates to us. I could really focus on the things that I haven't done yet, just like
Mm-hmm.
many business owners, versus, oh, but I like simple things, well, we did get married, we did have children, these fundamental things. The business is growing. I've got an amazing team. Look what we're doing. Same for business owners and really high performing leaders, which we'll end up working with because they're the
Mm.
people who invest in themselves too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that permission and letting go and that allows you to actually accelerate and that
Yeah.
that takes intention.
Yeah. I find the more I let go, the more magical life becomes.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember reading the surrender experiment years and years ago,
Yes.
but I couldn't quite embody it. I still find it challenging, but
Mm.
in my mind, the more I embrace that whole philosophy, the more magic. It's almost like our linear logical brain thinks it knows what's best for us, but it's good to have some intention, isn't it, about what you want to create or so, but not being too rigid and fixed, because
Yes.
then you miss out on the magic that happens when you just allow yourself to experience life and be guided by life. And
Yeah, I think so too. I think of that within business, as in, I'll be very goal orientated. This is who I want to work with. I'll meet somebody, I have this amazing feel, or this is the way we're going to achieve 1 million tall poppies.
yeah.
That's how it was originally. And now yeah, I'm like, oh, look at that. It may not be pathway 1, it might be pathway 6.
Mm.
And
That is not how I thought we would get there, but it's right.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, just like people's decisions are not actually about us. Just like people don't treat us and it's related to us, it's about them. So
Mm.
then what's mine and what's yours comes into business and life as well.
Yeah.
So, they didn't say yes or no to a deal purely because of mine, just letting that go, as in, well, the right people will find us. And I think we do that the longer we're in business.
Yeah.
I'm trying to create a beautiful, happy life
Yeah.
with what I love, with a team. So I don't want it to be too stressful and too this. And sometimes it's easy to lose track of that. I've definitely lost track of that when I had a baby early on. I was trying to keep the business going.
Yeah.
And now it feels more expansive. And you want everyone to constantly come up fairer and have intentionality. Your
Mm.
coaching and development, what you're doing, that helps people have that.
Mm.
If we're too busy, we can't get it. We can't take a breath.
No, that creating that space is really important.
Mm.
How old is is it your daughter?
Yes,
Yeah, how old is she now?
she's 3.5.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so you're really juggling all the things at the moment.
All the fun things. Yeah. But
Yeah.
that's the opposite to burnout as well, isn't it? And emotional intelligence, you're learning everything at once.
Oh,
So,
yeah. Growing a
yeah.
business and a family at the same time, it's
Yeah.
the hardest challenge, isn't it? But very
Yeah.
fulfilling. But yes,
Yeah.
stretches us in all the ways.
Yes.
Well, Kim, thank you. It's been so lovely having you come to share your wisdom with us today on leadership and becoming confident, self-aware leaders. So really appreciate you sharing that with us. And so if people want to find you, they can go to tallpoppies.us. Is that correct?
Yes, on our website, we're also posting videos, 4 videos every week, full of minute segments of thought leadership that's just out there in the world to help you. So they're
No.
full of tips, so you can join the LinkedIn community and then experience that all the time. I would love for that to help you in driving your own success, performance, business.
When I open your homepage,
Mm.
where do I see those videos? Or is it?
Oh, so website, if you would like to partner with us or learn more, 1, 2, or if you would like to experiment with confident leadership for yourself,
Yeah.
that's that online course, top right. And then
Right.
if you join us on LinkedIn and
That's where you share the
Instagram,
video.
Facebook, we have social media for posts every week,
Oh,
uh,
okay.
which
Yeah.
is us genuinely giving you tips of, all of these key leadership topics.
Okay, so people can find you as Tall Poppies on LinkedIn or on Facebook and get access to this content.
And Instagram. Yeah.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, thank you. Good luck on your mission to develop 1 million tall poppies.
Yeah. Thank you, Kate. That was
No,
beautiful.
no doubt you'll get there.
Thank you.
Nice to have you with us, and we will look forward to staying in touch. Thank you, Kim.
Pleasure.